Sometime in the 2020s, two geeks from across social media formed an alliance to bring you geek news from across the Nostalgiaverse. They are Jacob's Toys and SuperSorrell. So strap yourselves in for the weekly live show that brings you toy news, TV and movie reviews, special guests, opinions, tangents, and bad impressions. Reveals, releases, thoughts, and maybe dreams. So prepare yourselves for the Geek Week in Review. Live.
What's up? Hello and welcome back to the Geek Week with me, Jacob's Toys, and of course, the wonderful one and only SuperSorrell. A little bit of growth there on the chin this week. We're not quite as smooth as we were last week. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. This is episode 148 of the Geek Week. We are going to get to comments as we work our way through. Quick couple of shout outs. Ezra Gantos, Todd World, Sean the Sheep, Lunar Spring. Still my favorite username. Hello, how you doing? Stugs there. Andy Roberts, Shelley's in the chat. Andy H is there. Figure Fan 36. Mick Spector is in the chat as well. Hello, guys. We will get to the rest of you as we work through. We're going out across a whole bunch of different channels and streaming sites and stuff. So if you've got a comment, if you want to join in with the chat, drop it in the comments wherever it is that you're watching, and we'll do our best to put it up on the screen and get you involved. And if you're watching us on catch up, what is it that they need to put in the chat, Mr. Sorrell?
Hashtag catch up crew.
There we go. If you are watching us on repeat, then make sure you put that in the comments of the video that you're watching. It's good to see a couple of those throughout the week popping up. We try to do our best to get to them as we go through, but yeah, it's good. It's good. It's been a weird week, hasn't it? There's not been a huge amount happen up until the last 30 minutes.
About to the last sort of hour, and then Ryan Reynolds drops a bombshell that he's going to drop the whole trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine tomorrow. Although I did like the little teaser he did put out. That was kind of cool. Yeah. It was like I like the fact that it was like a little homage to Wolverine. Yes. I liked all the little it was a very cool little way of doing it.
Yeah, definitely. For anyone that hasn't seen it yet, about 35 minutes ago maybe, Ryan Reynolds dropped a teaser, which is basically, as Sorrell said, just a homage of all of Wolverine's appearances, and then a little bit of a sort of clickbait at the end with the bit of Deadpool laying on the ground. And then just says full trailer coming tomorrow. So we will see a full trailer tomorrow. Any predictions? What do you think? What are we going to see? Is it going to be a lot of nothing, or is it going to give
a lot of nothing? I don't think. Yeah. I think Ryan Reynolds knows how to play it, and I think he's going to keep everything pretty close to the chest till the cinema.
Yeah,
I'm hoping so anyway.
We are not far away now. Not far away at all.
I think we're going to get, because we know Wolverine's in it, so I think we're going to get a lot of Wolverine appearance. Look like we're going to get a better shot of Hugh Jackman in the yellow and blue. I think. Yeah, I think we'll get probably some really cool fight scenes, and I don't think we'll get any reveals or anything. I think all that'll be saved potentially.
Yeah, that's the thing. Mick Spector just very quickly just said in the chat there, potentially see the mask with it leaking so much. For anyone that hasn't seen, they did release kind of, was it like a movie poster art or something, wasn't it, or merchandise?
I don't know. I've not seen this.
Wolverine. Yeah, it had Wolverine in the mask. It's cool. Just a picture of Wolverine, a picture of Deadpool. I want to say Popcorn Bucket, but it wasn't. Popcorn Bucket is just on my mind. But it was something like that, just literally a sort of waist upwards picture. But yeah, I mean, we could potentially see the mask. I think that would definitely have a big pop. They dropped the poster as well. Did you see the poster?
Nope.
Poster is literally a callback to the Logan films. Remember the Logan?
Cool. Yeah.
Was Logan's hand and X-23 like holding onto him. Yeah. And this is literally Logan's hand with a Deadpool kind of holding onto the claw. So it's literally put them side by side and they look very similar. So yeah, so that's out. That's out. We are going to get something next week. So tomorrow. So if it's big, maybe we'll jump on and do a Geek Week live and just discuss the trailer. All depends what's in it. Yeah. What else has been going on this week before we kind of get into our scary movie stuff?
Well, I do just want to address, because I know a lot of people have been commenting on it and stuff, about that I've not been going live as often. I'm in the middle of a bit of a revamp of what I do and what I'm doing and stuff on the channel again. Just because I've got to admit, I do think the action figure industry is on its ass at the moment. I'm not going to lie.
Yep.
I'm not enjoying collecting any action figures right now. I can't remember. I think it was Street Fighter was the last ones I got. And put it this way, I've not even picked up Ken yet. I've got him on my shopping list, but I've not picked him up. I'm kind of...
Ken.
I don't know. As horrible as this is to say, I'm kind of done with action figures. I'm kind of done.
You need to get into Hot Toys, mate.
Nah, I can't do that. It's too expensive. I've gone back to though what I'm enjoying, what I enjoyed when I first started the damn channel in the first place, and a bit of all sorts in regards to Disney, Jurassic Park, gaming and all sorts of other stuff. And I've been doing like a lot of the blind baggy stuff, and I enjoy that, and just been going back to kind of what I enjoy doing rather than a bunch of action figures that I'm not enjoying. So
yeah, no,
I will be going live. Yeah, I will be sorting out my lives again real soon. Tuesdays I will be going live, hopefully, more frequently. Probably it won't be this week coming up, probably the week after. As you can see behind me, I'm currently in the middle of sorting everything out, and there's a big hole behind me on this side. I can't do this. There we go. On that side, and I'm gonna be sorting out the display and stuff like that with all my new minifigs and all that stuff. And yes, Andy H, I can see your little cheeky little comment there. Is this revamp 39,400,000? Yeah, thanks for both, mate.
No, I don't think you're alone, though, Sorrel. I don't think you're alone. We've said this a couple of times. I mean, I feel very much in a similar boat that there's a big kind of shift going on. I mean, you can actually see if I move this way. Look, I've just got boxes behind me. Literally, those boxes go all the way around, and I've just stripped everything back. And I am in the middle of a big move, so my whole kind of setup's going to all change, and I'm kind of using that as an opportunity to kind of pick out what I like and what I want and stuff. But I must admit, I picked up a couple of Marvel Legends last couple of weeks. I got like a couple of the X-Men 97s, the Angel, the Sabretooth 2-pack. And it was quite cool to actually just pick up the odd 1 and 2 here and there, as opposed to kind of just feel obligated to kind of go through everything that was released, because
that's the thing.
Yeah, a lot of it doesn't appeal to me anymore.
And that's the thing. It's at the end of the day, it's our channels. We've got to do what we want to do. And like, as much as I feel like I'm offering I like to think my videos are offering a service to people. I've got to enjoy what I'm putting out. And if I'm not enjoying it, then the videos are going to be crap. And I know a lot of people, like, again, Mick with the he'll be back on figures again next week. I don't think I will anytime soon. What I've been enjoying more than anything is reviewing things and having more fun with my daughter on the channel. Like, Paige has been getting massively into like the zombies and stuff. We've collected the entire line together. We've got all the Five Nights at Freddy's snaps. We've done all them together. And at the moment, we're getting all the capsule sheiks and stuff like that. I've moved on to other stuff, and I know it's not for everyone. I mean, I've been really enjoying collecting blind bags of stuff with my daughter, and like Lynn, my wife, she's involved more than she has been in a long time, because I've been doing Harry Potter and Disney, and they've both been appearing in a lot more vlogs recently because I'm collecting things they're interested in. Yeah. So
I think it's that case, isn't it? That there's, you cast your mind back to kind of 2018, 2017 type time. Things were a lot harder to get hold of. If you got hold of a certain figure, it was exciting to review it or to look at it or to share pictures of it, because it was, it was harder to come by. Whereas now there's such an abundance of everything that it doesn't feel as fun. I do get where you're coming from. I really do.
Yeah, and I've recaptured that. I know this sounds really stupid, but I've recaptured that feeling of childhood fun. Like when I was like, do you remember when you were a kid and you would pick up something and you'd be like, I can't wait to get this home. And like, literally, as stupid as it is, these daft little dinosaurs I've enjoyed unboxing these stupid little things more than I've enjoyed any Marvel Legend for the past year. I got more nostalgic feelings unboxing the Disney Daubs versions of Goofy movie than I have for any NECA figure I've opened in years. So, I mean, again, I know it's not for everyone. I'm probably going to lose some subs over it. Yeah. But I'm collecting things that appeal to me. Yeah. And if people cast their mind back to my channel and where I used to go with stuff, some of my most popular videos are like the Maui talking figure from Moana, the Groot that danced when you played audio, and I reviewed all those kind of things. I kind of fell into this thing of doing Marvel Legends and Black Series a lot more when COVID and that took over, and because you couldn't go to the shops to buy the kiddie stuff, like the kids related content stuff, I fell into this action figure sort of niche, if you will. Yeah. And for the longest time, that's all I collected because that was what was available for like those 2 years that we were in lockdown. Yeah. And now we've kind of come out the other side of it and things have caught up again. I'm now able to go back to collecting kind of the random stuff that I used to enjoy.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you on that one, mate. I'm with you on that.
And there's been a lot of people that have commented over the last week on my channel saying, am I selling out for Five Nights at Freddy's and things like that. Like, if they go back on my channel, I reviewed the first wave of Five Nights things back in 2017 when the first line of merch ever came out. I was like one of the first people in line at Toys R Us that morning to buy them.
Yeah.
So that little rant's over with. But yeah, I just thought I'd address it because I know some people were commenting about it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That is cool. Andy H just said in the chat. Oh no, hang on. Figure fan 36 WWE figure. Sorry. Andy H has said in the chat on the back of Deadpool 3. I've just sent you both a message with a pic of the US sales promo stuff for Deadpool. I've just looked at that and I saw that earlier on Facebook or Instagram or something, and someone was saying that was the promo desk for the last film. So I don't know whether this is a new version or whether this is for the last film or whatnot, but it's very cool. But it does get me thinking that there hasn't been as much of a promo push with this one at all. I think they know it's kind of selling itself. So,
yeah.
But either way, it's a very cool picture. Mick Spector said as well, have we talked about how good Fallout was? Absolutely fantastic. Not just an adaptation, but added to the game's lore.
Literally just finished it 2 hours ago. I've literally got to the final episode now.
We haven't, because I binged watched it all at the time. Sorrel was only up to like episode 2. But yeah, let's talk about it for a little bit. Spoilers ahead. Fallout, we're going to talk about it very quickly. If you haven't got to the final episode, then obviously Fallout. Spoilers. There, now that we've warned everyone, you called it, didn't you, Sorrel? You said it. And that's as soon as that scene hit, I was like, I can't wait for him to see this because I know he's going to be going.
Yeah. Well, when they were in the boardroom and it showed all the execs from all the different, they obviously got all the different vaults and things. We saw the Fallout New Vegas guy. He's actually in the game. He's a game character. I forgot his name off the top of my head now, but yeah, he sat there and he's one of the people that owns the Vegas vaults, and he's one of the big bosses in the game. So to have him on the screen was kind of cool.
That is
cool. It was awesome how it all fell together at the end. I kind of liked the story. The story progression was brilliant. Like that ending bit where it all just kind of clicked into place.
I did not click that her dad was going to be like a pre-vault guy. Like I didn't see that come in. I feel silly now because it was very obvious when you look back at it at the beginning, but it didn't click. And I think that's just because the storytelling was so good that I was so invested in all of the side missions and the side stories and stuff that I didn't even my brain wasn't kind of going to who is he and all that kind of stuff. And I thought that was brilliant. I knew that was her mum straight up when there was like the body just there, like that was obvious. But no, I liked it a lot.
Do you want to feel very old?
Go on.
You know the guy that plays her brother?
Yeah,
the guy that plays Lucy's brother in the vault.
Yeah, the little like mousy one.
Yeah, so he was in Hannah Montana and he played Rico. He was he was younger than Miley Cyrus at the time, and he was the little kid that was like, "You will never conquer Rico." He was like the really weird one.
Wow.
He was like 9 or 10 years old in that, and like I was sat there watching it, going, "Where do I know this kid's face from? Where do I know him?" Googled him, Rico Hannah Montana. I'm like, "Oh my god."
I've got to say that we were talking about Goggins last week.
Yeah.
Who plays the ghoul? Hands down, like such an awesome character, such an awesome portrayal of a character. Like he was just, he wasn't quite a good guy, but he wasn't quite a bad guy. But I was rooting for him. I was like, come on, man! Like, I want this guy to succeed. Like,
I had to laugh this week. My wife showed me a bunch of things. People are making adult fanfics about the ghoul.
That's
Women
weird.
apparently like the ghoul, which is the weirdest thing on the planet, isn't it? He's got no nose for one. But yeah, there's a lot of adult fanfic out there about him, which is a bit weird because it's Walter Goggins.
That's weird.
The
That is
weirdest
weird.
man on the planet. Every time I saw him, especially towards the end, every time he came on screen, he's doing this whole "I'm the cowboy and I'm cool" act. I just pictured him from Big Bang Theory. I just pictured him from that episode of Big Bang Theory where, because Raj was banging his missus.
Oh,
And he was the ex-husband. Yeah. And there's that bit where the Raj imagines that he's there when he's kissing her and he's behind him and he's going, "I'm so alone." That's all I could hear in my head.
After last week's episode, I couldn't see past him being
Sons of Anarchy in drag.
I was just waiting for the ghoul to, like, as he was walking along, to like have like heels on or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, or fishnets or something. But no, it was just a very awesome series altogether. It got me because I'd never played Fallout properly. I dipped in and out of it when I was working at game and stuff, and it was just one of them ones where I just didn't have time to commit to the campaign, that kind of stuff. So it was all quite fresh for me in this series, and I got to kind of doing more, kind of going down a rabbit hole of all the different vaults and all this kind of stuff. And there are some dark vaults out there. Did you know that? Like,
oh yeah,
there's all like the lore that goes with Fallout and that. And like the three worst ones that I came across was that there's a vault where there was some kind of like contamination and they're all ghouls. So they've all just been turned into ghouls. So that's like, you know, that's a bad one. There was one vault where there was one man and loads of puppets. He was just left with loads of puppets. But the worst one that has never been seen in a game or anything like that is that there was 999 men in there and one woman.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
that's the experiment that the vault went down, and they've never shown it in a game or anything like that, but it's in the books. And I just thought, man, but what a cool like kind of like explanation into you know, into sort of psychology and human psychology and that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's move on.
Just right quick, one of the best Easter eggs in the final episode when they put the code in. You know the code for the Cold Fusion.
Yeah.
10/10/97. That was the release of Fallout 1. 10/10/97 is the release.
Nice.
So as soon as that came up, I was like, I'm pretty sure that is the release date of it, and I had to Google it, and it was. Yeah, I thought that's a really cool little Easter egg to add in there.
That is a very cool Easter egg. That is. Annie H said, "Someone give me the thumbs up when we're done talking about Fallout." There we go.
But
cool.
No, it's not. Just answer Mick's question. It's not taking me back to Fallout 76. I've not gone back to the game, but I have been playing Fallout 3, and I am going to be moving on to New Vegas next week now. So I've been playing the ones that are on game, because they're on Game Pass for Xbox. So you can play them for free. There's Fallout 3 and there's Fallout 76 on there, and Fallout 4. So I'm slowly working my way through those. But I've got the Fallout Shelter mobile game, and I've got back into that. That is awesome, where you make your own little shelter.
I'm gonna have to pick one up and start playing it now. I'm a convert. I'm well into Fallout now. There you go. So the title of this week's episode, slightly different than normal. We called it "What's Your Favorite Scary Movie?" because we're going to talk about horror a little bit more tonight.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be a reoccurring theme. It's just tonight we decided that we're going to discuss horror movies a little bit more. Mainly because Sorrell went out and saw Abigail.
Yeah.
And of course, there's been a couple of trailers dropped this week as well for new upcoming horror films as well. Before we get into the horror massively, did you have any major pickups this week?
I did, but I don't think it's anything that's going to interest this crowd, but I did.
Yeah. Literally the only thing I got was Ken. I got a couple of 3D printed things. You can see Ghostbuster wires behind me.
I got something I've got something that will officially give you nightmares. Hang on.
Go on. And of course, did get Ken in the end as well.
So
I must admit, the thing that upset me about Ken though is that I pulled it out and showed my youngest son. He's like, "Who's that?" I was like, "It's Ken." He went, "What, Barbie's husband?" I was like, no. Is that all that children that when you say Ken, all people think of is Ryan Gosling? I was like, no, This is like the Street Fighter character that like kicks Ryan's backside. But anyway, yeah. Mick Spector said, "Show us the Ghostbuster stuff." Very quickly, I'll show you the Ghostbuster stuff. So good friend at GLP 3D did me a little Ghostbuster sign, little 3D printed Ghostbuster sign to go with my Plasma Black series. and a little Slimer as well, which I painted up myself.
That is very
I'll
cool.
do a video on that, but he's a little bit bigger. He's got his bum. He's a little bit bigger than the actual figures.
That's based on the Diamond Select sculpt, isn't it? That's the Diamond Select
yeah,
sculpt.
it's not far off at all.
Yeah, it's got the butt.
Yeah. The Diamond Select one had that, didn't it? Annoyingly, I had the Diamond Select movie and comic book Slimer characters years ago, and I sold them on stupidly. But this is to go with my plasma series. It's a little bit bigger, but it will work. It will work. And then my favorite piece is my Stay Puft Marshmallow Man kind of bust. So I asked him to do me one so that I could put it at the back of my display, so that it will fit kind of flush against the wall of like my display, and have my figures kind of with the rooftop diorama and stuff. So I'll have like a full scale Stay Puft. This one's a little bit smaller than what I'm going to finalize with, but again, I painted that up myself. So it's basically just a display piece. But it'll be good for action figure photography as well. Like I can put him there with the 4 characters and stuff, and have him busting ghosts.
Let's see if you can get him to do the one, where Stay Puft's pulling the like ooh face, like when he gets hit, and then you could have them all firing the streams at him. That'd be a really cool little diorama piece.
The thing is, obviously 3D printing's not cheap. When it's not expensive, but it's not cheap. But obviously, to make something, the final kind of one I'm going for is about that tall, so it makes it a lot bigger. So it's kind of head and shoulders
Scale.
above. Yeah, sort of more to scale. But this one will work for the time being. Yeah, there we go. Mick said, are you collecting plasmas now, Jacob? Such a good one. Literally, the only ones I've got the Afterlife ones. I got a few of those, but I got the 4 slimed versions of the original cast. So I just thought, you know what, Ghostbusters they're close to my heart. So I needed to have a Ghostbuster representation on my shelves. So there you go. Mick said, if you sell that one, hit me up. I will, mate. I will.
Don't forget you picked up Jigsaw.
Don't forget, I didn't pick him up. I had Jigsaw. Here he is. Yeah, well, I can't remember why you talk about Jigsaw, but yeah, I had Jigsaw. He's in my box. No, I had to play around with some action figure photography and basically just popped the head out, put Gambit on, and did that little kind of final X-Men episode 5 scene. But I'm not going to take credit for that, because in all fairness, a lot of people did a very similar thing at the same type of time. So it's not a completely out there idea. You see a character in a white suit and you think, what Marvel Legends have a white suit? And Jigsaw's pretty much the only one, bar the Rose.
Yeah.
So there are loads of people out there with photos and images and stuff. So I'm not gonna take credit for the origin of the idea, because I'm sure somebody thought of it before me. But either way, if you've got a Jigsaw and you've got a Gambit, pop the Gambit head on and you've got that episode 5 version of him. I'm a sucker for thing. One thing I have got coming though, I'm a sucker for Gambit. I really am a sucker for Gambit. And obviously my collection's grown in height, so I had to put a Gambit in there.
Have you got a Gambit in there? Yeah. The thing is, now he needs a rogue. That's the only problem, mate.
Yeah.
He needs a rogue
no.
now.
She's very obtainable.
Oh, is she already on the order list?
she's just not a difficult one to come by, really.
Okay.
For anyone that's interested, you can pick up I believe it's So Toys did a 1/6 scale rogue in the comic book Accurate, and she goes for about 180 quid. She's not an expensive one to get. But I haven't ordered her or anything. I'm gonna let Gambit stand solo for a little while. But yeah.
So, you've heard of Fugglers, right?
Yeah.
Those weird little plushes that come in cardboard boxes for kids. And they did a crossover with Turtles.
Yes, I remember
those. I was thinking about picking up those. I was stood in the aisle and entertaining, and I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, these are awesome, but I don't want to spend like 50 quid on 4 plushes. And I was like, I can't have just one turtle. I need to get all 4. So I'll skip those for now. And then I turned around and saw the weirdest thing on the planet that I just had to buy it. Are we ready? Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Fuggling SquarePants.
That is hideous.
And he's got realistic weird little teeth.
And only 2 of them as well. That's the thing of nightmares.
That is the thing of nightmares, isn't it? I saw it, I was like, oh, I have to own this. It's disgusting.
I swear there's an episode where he looks like that though.
And just for more nightmares, you can get a Patrick that is furry as well.
Oh man, is he square though?
Yeah. So yeah, I can't. I'm gonna take him out of the box and do a full review. But yeah, he's a proper. He's got legs and arms and everything. It's the proper thing. But yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Just quickly as well on X-Men 97, while we're kind of just briefly skimming past it. Not a huge amount to report with this week's episode because they skipped away from the main, didn't they? They skipped away from the main kind of storyline.
I've not seen it this week. I've got no clue.
There's a really cool callback for Storm, and I've literally got her at arm's reach because I'm clearing out a load of my Marvel Legends. This is one costume that I decided to keep. I was just like, it's classic Storm. I can't let her go. And I'm really glad that I kept this suit. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm just very, very pleased that I kept this version of Storm. Very, very pleased. There you go. Very, very, very pleased. I won't get forged down. That's fine. But no, it's it was a good episode. It was a good episode, but I'm looking forward to next week's. So, what's your favourite scary movie, Sorrel?
Everyone knows my favourite scary movie. Everyone knows what I'm going to say. Trick or Treat, Sam. Sam is my icon. Sam is my guy.
You know what? I really struggle.
I've got an entire cubbyhole dedicated. There we go. An entire cubbyhole dedicated to Sam.
Yeah. Okay.
Sam or Chucky. I mean, Chucky's up there as well, but Sam is the.
You know what? I really struggled with this. Like, I really, really did struggle with it. And I'm just going to go. I did a quick poll on Instagram, and there was loads of the classic answers, the kind of classic, what you would kind of expect. Couple of random ones as well. Things like Alien was on there. Obviously, all your Freddy's, your Jasons, your Charles Plays. Exorcism of Emily Rose, my friend Will said as well. Very good movie, actually. And I really struggled with this. I really struggled. Like Carl in the chat has said, "Got to be The Thing" with Kurt Russell. It's not a bad shout.
Good movie.
But you know what? I really struggled with it. Like, really struggled with it because I don't remember the last time I was really scared. If that makes sense. And obviously, the title that we put is your favorite scary movie. And I don't remember the last horror film that really scared me.
See, when it comes to films that freak, like Sam doesn't scare me in the slightest. It never did, never will. It's not that kind of film. It feels more like an adult version of Goosebumps. The last film, honestly, when I was, because I've been watching horror films since I was a kid, so I mean I'm quite numb to it now. Like a lot of people were jumping in the cinema at the Abigail. And I mean, a lot of people was jumping in the cinema that, but I was laughing all the way through. I was like, this is amazing. It's a great film, but it wasn't scary, in my opinion. But I mean, the last time I was truly scared would probably be when I was about 13, I was about 12 or 13. I was watching 13 Ghosts. That was the last film I think that scared me as a kid.
Good film.
Great movie, but some of those scenes in that scared me as a kid.
Yeah, it's, you know what, it's funny in our house because like my wife hates scary movies. Like, she hates any that. If I'm watching The Walking Dead, she's kind of like, she can't watch it. It's the kind of noise of the zombies and that kind of stuff, or the walkers. Sorry, they don't call them zombies, don't we? Don't use the Z word. And we were talking about this at dinner, and you know, we've got 2 older kids, and we were talking about like kind of what constitutes as kind of scary, and that they're big into their Stranger Things and everything like that. And I was like, you know what? Only 2 films actually come to mind that I remember being genuinely scared. And the first one was The Ring, but the Japanese version. Yeah. Because in the ultimate wisdom of my parents, when that came out, it was obviously in the cinema and it was kind of being talked about, oh, The Ring. And in HMV, they had The Ring on the side. Well, clearly it wasn't the version in the cinema. So let's do a little bit of a background check on this film. And went home and watched it with my little brother. And there's the scene where the guy pops his head up in the loft. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? And he turns around and she's just there. Still in my head, like I have that. Whenever I go up in a loft, I have to do a 360 just because of that. So that would constitute as one that scared me. And surprisingly, the only other film that could come up on the top of my list is one we were talking about last week, and that's the Blair Witch Project.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
because I was genuinely scared of what I saw, not kind of wetting my pants in the cinema, but it left a kind of a lasting impression on me at the time. And because of the age and the way it was executed, and obviously it was all very new at the time as well. So yeah, I think that Blair Witch and Japanese version of The Ring are the only ones that have genuinely scared me in the last, 20, 30 years. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
yeah. When it comes to scary movies, there's not much that has scared me. I tend to be more scared of things that are eerie more than scary. Like I don't stay scared at films like stuff like that, but like there's certain things that will set me up to freak me out, and that's when when you get a scene in a horror film that's drawn out. So there are certain scenes in Abigail Comes Home that made me jump the first time I saw them. Like Abigail Comes Home is not a scary movie in the slightest, but there are certain bits of that film, like when the little girl can see the bride in the hallway.
Yeah.
And you know damn well she's going to come run. It's the same with the portrait in Conjuring. You know she's going to run at her. You know in your head you're going, that's going to move, she's going to move. And then she moves, but you still jump. Things like that freak me out. When they do like a elongated scene that drags itself out and you know it's coming, but you don't know when. That freaks me out.
The flip side of that, films like Insidious, where it's like there's no draw out and it's just instant.
Bang.
Like where he was behind the guy. Do you know what I mean? Like those bits are the good ones. Like I genuinely like being scared, and I think the last thing that really there was a show in London called Ghost Stories a few years back, and I went to see it not knowing what to expect, and it was written by or co-written by the guy that wrote Derren Brown's like stage things, and one of the guys from League of Gentlemen, and it was genuinely one of the scariest things I've ever seen. Because it was so immersive, and it was these three kind of short stories, but it was so immersive and it was so well done that it was those kind of jump scares that you did not see coming played out in front of you physically on stage. Like it was brilliant, like brilliantly done. And there's still one scene in that show that I hear it in my head. Like I can hear the word in. I won't bore you with the whole story, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, Andy H said the same. Like, it's not about the scene that's scaring you; it's the music that's playing, the sound.
Yeah, I'll give him that. Because like that scene that I'm on about with the with the nun running at her, that is they're playing that weird kids choir in the background, aren't they? That like there's like a weird kids choiry sound in the background, and you can see her scribbling and scribbling and scribbling, and it's getting faster and faster and faster. It's all the tension and the build up, isn't it?
What film
gets you?
What film was it that used that?
Oh, hundreds of films have used that. That's like a TikTok's favorite horror theme now.
But that, like, it's
Tulips.
things like that, when that was first used, it was like, and really like cheesy films as well, like Freddy Krueger, like Nightmare on Elm Street. But the 1-2 Freddy's Coming for You, like you get something like that leaves that lasting impression and it sticks with you. But you know what I think's kind of killed it a little bit for me as well recently is everything needs to have a sequel or a follow-up. And I was thinking about this as well before tonight's podcast, but I kind of wish we had things that were just standalone. Like take Jeepers Creepers, for example. Like when you say Jeepers Creepers, you think of cheesy, like rubbish, tongue-in-cheek, like. But that first Jeepers Creepers film was genuinely quite freaky, and you didn't really know much about what the creeper was. You didn't know, and it's Justin Long, isn't it? In that, and obviously the whole story kind of plays out. And then they made all the sequels, and it just kind of made it a joke. Yeah. And whereas that first one was genuinely quite freaky, and I wish that they kind of took a leaf out of those books and kind of just came up with a concept and just left it. Like just one and done, left it, because then that sticks with you. Don't give people more information because it makes it less scary.
They did the same with The Conjuring. So Conjuring 1 and 2 are genuinely scary films.
Mm.
And then they made Annabelle, which was okay. Annabelle 1 was okay. But then Annabelle 2, Annabelle Comes Home, it did start to get watered down. Admittedly, Annabelle Comes Home is one of my cheesiest favourite horror films of all time now. I love the damn thing. But it does, it's like a Scooby-Doo adventure, for God's sake. It does actually water down the franchise a hell of a lot from being what it... If you think of Conjuring 1 and then like The Nun, very different movies.
Yeah.
So I mean, they have watered it down a hell of a lot because of all the sequels now.
Yeah.
To the point where that last one, The Devil on Trial or whatever, the last one they did, that wasn't even scary, and it wasn't even a ghost in the end. It was some dodgy cult. It was like, just stop now.
Yeah. Days of Horror in the chat. How we doing? Said best horror movie made has to be The Blair Witch. There we go. Said it. When it comes to music, there is none. You know what? I didn't even pick up on that. That there isn't, is there?
Nope.
It is all just because of that. And I was explaining the concept of Blair Witch to my kids, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's like, yeah, no way." And I was like, "But if I showed it to you now, it wouldn't be as scary because it was very of the time. Like you're not like for us, that was a reality, whereas for you, it wouldn't be." I went, however, they are remaking it, so when they remade it, I'll take you to see it and scare your pants. But I hope that with this remake, they stick to this kind of thing, and there's no music, and it's built up on that.
I think it's going to be cell phones. I think it's going to be vloggers and YouTubers kind of a thing, and it's going to be a more modernized version of it. And they're going to be like, vloggers trying to find out the story of Blair Witch. It'll be like a sequel without saying it's a sequel. You know what I mean? It'll be kind of a continuation, I think, rather than a new film, just a modern retelling.
I just hope that it's not. I can't remember the girl's name in it, but I hope that she's not the Blair Witch kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? I hope it's not something like that. I hope it is literally just similar to what they did with the remake, where it was just completely standalone. I hope that they remake it as a completely standalone thing,
and not try and link it anywhere.
Yeah, it is what it is. But Abigail. So what was Abigail like?
So spoilers ahead, guys, for Abigail. Great movie, really good movie. Do you know what I loved about it more than anything? The vampires were vampires like Lost Boys and Dawn of the Dead. No, sorry, Dust Till Dawn. Sorry, not Dawn of the Dead, Dust Till Dawn.
Awesome.
In meaning that you stake one of these bad boys and they blow up like a sack of meat. And they even have a chance. At one point, one of them even has a chance to look at the screen and go, "Uh-oh." So it's very tongue-in-cheek. They knew what they were doing with this film. It isn't... I wouldn't say it's a dark horror film or anything like that. It's the ballerina running around eating people, for God's sake. They knew it was tongue-in-cheek when they were making it because the jokes in it are brilliant.
But Dusk Till Dawn's the same. Dusk Till Dawn isn't what I would class as a horror film.
No.
But it's by far one of the best vampire films out there.
And they do the same sort of that. It's very much in the style of Lost Boys, Dusk Till Dawn. It's very much a kind of cheesy vampire movie. And you've seen from the trailer, she gets kidnapped, but clearly it's like a hunting ground for her really more than anything because they get locked in and all that good stuff. But I love the fact that it was so obvious enough that I called it weeks ago. And it was more... I love the fact that even at the end of the film, because I told my wife my theory before the film started, and she looked at me and went, "Have you seen this film?" I went, "No." I went, "But I got it spot on." More or less down to the damn quote that the guy says at the end. So, spoilers ahead. At the end of the movie, because there's a bit where is he called Esposito? He's not called George Esposito, is it? What's he called?
Can't remember.
Esposito, a guy from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
He's kind of like in the film, as you see from the trailer. There's a bit towards the end of the film where he's like, "I'm going to call your father." Because he's like in on it. Like, "I'm going to call your father." And she's like, moaning him. And he calls the big bad vampire to come pick up his daughter. And then you can see where it's going, because obviously it is based on Dracula's daughter from 1932, just a new version of it. And the bit where he walks in and he's got the black robe on and he does the whole he's got the thick accent from like Hungarian kind of accent, like, "Come here, Annabelle." And she comes over to him and he's like, "You've been a naughty little girl." And the girl says, because they kept calling him something like Balthazar or something all the way through the film. She calls him by his name, and he goes, "I have gone by many names over my lifetime." And that's kind of just the nod you need. Like, it's Dracula. They're just not saying it. But what I liked about this is the people that have made it have said they will revisit it if Universal want them to, because Universal are currently working on the modernization version of the Wolfman.
Mm-hmm.
That is already being cast and kind of in pre-production, and that's a Universal picture.
Yep.
So the studio have already kind of spoken out and said we will revisit if you would like to, because I think they're thinking they could build up the Dark Universe now, because that was a good starting point, because you kind of had Dracula without having to do Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
It showed you that he's got a daughter now, like a bit like Interview with the Vampire, that he wanted a daughter, and so he bit a girl. He found a girl and bit her and all that stuff. Because obviously she's a little girl that's not a little girl. Obviously, about halfway through the film, they kind of do the whole "I've been around for centuries" kind of thing. She's not a little girl. She just plays up to the little girl role.
They've done that they showed that bit in the trailer.
Yeah. So yeah,
the trailer.
But no, it's definitely worth a watch. 100% go and see it. It's a great movie.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
And it's definitely worth watching on the big screen as well. I wouldn't wait for that one to come on DVD. I would definitely check that out on the big screen, because I watched it on Cineworld's, what do they call it? It was a 4DX showing on the giant big X screen thing. So the screen was like from ceiling to floor, and the scenes in it were brilliant for that, because like there's a lot of scenes where she jumps off of things and dances around, and she kind of danced across the screen, which was quite good.
She's a little girl from Matilda, isn't she?
Yeah.
See, once I put those two together, I was like, oh, it's Matilda. It's not fun. Like,
well, it's Catherine, and it's Catherine Newton again. I mean, she's becoming a bit of a scream queen now, isn't she? She's been in a lot of horror recently. She was in the Frankenstein sort of remakey film recently. She's been in this one, which is kind of like your Dracula kind of film. So she's popping right up in a lot of horror films.
Doing the rounds there, yeah. Speaking of scream queens, American Horror Story, that's back on our screens now as well.
It is.
Have you been watching this series?
I've seen the first half. I need to catch up with the second half yet.
It's messed up, this one. Like, it's messed up. Like, I love American Horror Story, and I've loved it since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But it is twisted up. Like, some of it is just so messed up that you're just kind of like, how do you even come up with these ideas? But
they've done so much with it now that I think it's kind of a case of where do we go next. I think they're kind of struggling for ideas now. They're just trying to make it as outlandish as possible now. And
they've made the spin-off as well, the American Horror Stories, which is like the one-shot ones as well. But no, it's I need a good new horror. Like, that's what I need. I do need a good new horror. But yeah, I just I don't know, when it actually comes to kind of favorites, because straight away I was kind of thinking like things like Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th, like all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
But again, the one that I think messed me up proper was The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, right, okay.
Like the Hills Have Eyes too. Like just and that's not. It's not the same, is it? They're just horrible mountain people that just got. But they messed me up a little bit.
They did some messed up things though.
Like
they were horrible mountain people.
But yeah, I don't know. We've got the new Freddy Krueger as well coming out, haven't we? The TV show Fred.
So I'm not sure if that's even real anymore. I'm really not sure if this is even real now. There's been so many things doing the rounds about it. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Whether it's just been, I'm not sure whether this is just a hype story that's got out of hand or what. But no studio's come out to decline or accept it, so I don't know anymore.
No, I kind of hope they do, because that Freddy Krueger, like in the 80s and 90s, you had icons, you had like horror icons, and whoa, Bethany Beth. Wow, things just got really dark really quickly. But in the 80s and the 90s, and why would it be that way around, Bethany Beth? Why would it be the other way around? Like, it's like, do I look like a victim? Like, but no, in the 80s and 90s, you had like horror icons, didn't you? You had your Freddys, your Jasons, and the rest of it. And we were talking about this previously on another show. We just haven't got, like, we've had lots of new characters, but no one's kind of taken that icon.
You know what you've got now?
What?
So, like, we had the 90s, we had, Leatherface and Pinhead, and we had all those kind of characters. The generation before us had, your Freddy, your Jason, your Michael. The modern now equivalent of that literally is the Nun, Annabelle. You know what I mean? These characters are classed as these horror icons for the next generation, aren't they? If you ask a kid about a horror film nowadays, they're going to say to you, Chucky, Annabelle, because of all the YouTube stuff, because of all the YouTube horror stuff. They're the characters they look to.
Yeah. I just don't
And
think they've got icon status. I don't think in 10 years' time people will be like talking about them the same way as Freddy.
see, I think Megan's gonna be up there. I think what's she called? The new Dracula's daughter is gonna be up there. I think those are the characters that we're gonna see have the franchises over the next 10 years.
Why has Megan got a 3 in her name?
I have no idea. Just how it's because she's meant to be a robot, so M3GAN, I'm guessing, was the name of the robot, like R2D2. They need some numbers in there to make it a robot. So they went with M3GN because it's stylized, isn't it? Like Eminem with his backwards E.
Yeah.
But I'm really surprised Chucky didn't call it M3GAN or something.
Yeah.
Instead of acknowledging her as Megan, I'm really surprised they didn't call it M3GAN.
Yeah, M3 GAN. John Hood's thrown a good one in. The Fly remake starring Jeff Goldblum was nightmare fuel.
It really was.
You know what? I talked about it a couple of weeks ago about that big old computer that he pulls out as the that controls the teleporter. I loved The Fly, like absolutely loved it. Like it was, Andy H. There we go. Model 3 generative Android. Yeah, I remember him saying that now. Yeah, I loved The Fly. When I was younger, I was absolutely obsessed with it. The Fly 2 wasn't actually even that bad. I quite enjoyed The Fly 2. But on the same kind of vein, have you seen the indie horror film that's been released on YouTube called The Spider with Rick Grimes' son from The Walking Dead? Coral.
I don't know. I'm not sure if I have now.
It's on there. The full video is on. It's put out. It's like a fan-made, low-budget indie film, whatever you want to call it. It's on YouTube. It's called The Spider. Came out earlier this week, and it is. If you imagine The Fly meets Spider-Man, it's that kind of thing. So obviously he gets. I won't give too much away, but he doesn't get lycra. Put it that way. he gets lots of eyes and stuff like that, but because it's a low budget film, it was actually quite enjoyable as a horror film, like as a kind of a bit of a twisted thing. And some scenes are a bit drawn out and some of it's a bit amateur, but it's a very good Annie H said I've got the Blu-ray a foot away from me. There we go. So he's there. Like we're talking about, he's pulled the Blu-ray out. He's looking at all the box and everything like that. But I used to like my B movies as well. I used to like my movies that were not mainstream. That there was on the same kind of vein as Spider-Man. What we're talking about, there was I can't remember what it was called. I think it was called Man Spider or something, and it was this dodgy kind of low budget version of Spider-Man, but what happens if he gets bitten by a spider and he doesn't turn into this kind of sexy superhero? He turns into a spider, and it was very similar. I think the reason I liked it is it was a very similar story as to what happens in the animated series where he turns into a spider. But yeah, The Spider is very similar to that. So if you like The Fly, John, it's worth checking out The Spider on YouTube. It's not going to win any Oscars, but it was an enjoyable hour and a half. It was an enjoyable hour and a half, definitely.
I'm looking forward to seeing this whole nightmare kids universe pan out, with Bambi and Mickey, and I'm looking forward to see how this all pans out. I really am.
Do you think it's just going to be a
big
cash grab, or do you think it's actually they're gonna build something worthy of kind of?
Well, they were all individual films that were just in production at once. So the guys that made Winnie the Pooh kind of reached out to all the different people and just said, "Do you want to build this dark universe?" And everyone's obviously jumped in on it. It's all a cash grab, but the fact that they've now sold the rights to the toys, gets me excited. That does
Yeah.
get me a bit. There's a company they make like wrestler versions of like Dracula and Frankenstein. They're like the He-Man 5 POA style kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're making the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey figures. So yeah, it's madness, isn't it? But then they announced obviously Steamboat Willie versus Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and I'm looking forward to that silly little thing happening now.
Yeah.
Again, it's all complete nonsense, but it'll be funny because it's B movie. It's going to be crap, so it's going to be funny. But I think they'll become like cult classics in time
Yeah.
because they're based on like on the characters we all know.
I think as well. I think CGI and the kind of advances in there's a couple of things that change what's scary nowadays. So like obviously the advances in CGI are massive, I think, because people look at things and know that it's not real. Whereas in the 80s especially, and then obviously part way into the 90s, it was all animatronics and it was all puppets and it was all doubles and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't a case of, is this thing real? It was a case of we were watching something on screen that was physically real, but it was just a case of trying to convince our brains that what we were watching wasn't real. Whereas nowadays you watch something and people know it's not real because they know what the ability of, like Jurassic Park was scary because they were genuinely real dinosaurs. Like they were there. And there was elements of that were quite scary at the time. The same for me when it comes to, so we're going to talk about scary films. I've got to talk about the sea because Jaws was one that scared me, but I didn't put it as my scary movie because it's more of an action. No, I don't know what you class Jaws as, but obviously they used like not real sharks, but they physically made the sharks, didn't they? And then do you remember the film Deep Blue Sea?
Yeah.
So there was parts of that where they had real animatronic sharks that they were using for certain scenes, and there's interviews with some of the cast where they were talking about like being in the water with these real like physical sharks, and it made it very scary. So obviously the fear in the actors was very real because they were like acting with these sharks. Obviously there was a lot of CGI used in that as well, and I think a lot is lost today in movies because it's all CGI'd. That makes sense.
Yeah, I get you.
That takes away a lot of the horror, and a lot of the kind of fear of things.
Yeah,
for me,
100%.
But there was a film called, I don't know if you've ever seen it, called The Gate. Did you ever see The Gate?
Is that the one with
I don't know who the actors are in it.
Oh my god. Oh no, I'm thinking of Ninth Gate. No, sorry, I'm thinking of Ninth Gate. Never mind.
No. This is a rubbish. It's one of those typical kind of 80s movies where they went, this is a good idea. And basically the family dig up a tree in their garden and it opens a gateway to hell. And all these like little demon goblin things come out. And there's one scene in that film where the kid's laying in bed and they're like on his bookshelf, and like you can sort of see him running along on the bookshelf. It scared the crap out of me for years as a kid. Because I can see those things on that shelf. Like they're physically there in the film. And it scared the life out of me for years, to the extent where my dad would move things on the bookshelf and they'd be like, oh, to the gate, I've dug up a tree or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But it's those kind of films that stick with you.
Yeah. I'll tell you what we do need to discuss though. Did you see the trailer for Tarot?
Yes.
So this film, I saw it advertised last night on the big screen. And because I had seen it before, but obviously seeing it on the big screen is different to watching it on YouTube with your headphones on. And you got a proper look on the big screen at all the monsters in it. And it reminds me a lot of 13 Ghosts.
Ghosts, yep.
It has that element to it. All the different, because they've clearly gone out their way to design these really cool looking demons that relate to the tarot card. And they've all got very different, unique looking characters. A bit like 13 Ghosts. Like I remember when 13 Ghosts came out, I was more interested in the ghost than the damn movie. I was like, what are these ghosts? Because they were all very cool.
I couldn't tell you the actual story of 13 Ghosts, but I remember at least 10 of them, kind of like I can see them in my head. You know what I mean? Yeah, I thought the same thing. Funny enough, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, this is basically 13 Ghosts. It's kind of taking that concept of here's a bunch of really scary stuff. We're not going to tell you a huge amount about them, and yeah, make what you want of it, sort of thing.
It's clearly they're gonna read the tarot of each of the people at the house, and then that ghost is gonna be the one that kills them, basically, isn't it? That's how it's gonna roll.
Yeah. So they're all going to be in their own little story, and
Looks very
I like
cool.
it. Very quickly in the comments, Andy H said the gate had a very young Stephen Dorff in it.
Wow.
There you go. I did not know that. And John Hood said, talking practical effects, Alien makes expensive use of the new Alien. What's it called?
Romulus
makes extensive use of physical puppets, hardening back to the Alien and Aliens. That's really cool. That's really good to know.
Yeah, same with like we always talk about this when we do horror, but I mean Lost Boys, that's the reason it still looks good to this day, is because they didn't they could have very easily just used computer animation over the top of their faces, but they didn't. They went out the way to do prosthetics and for all the blood things to be real, so that the actors genuinely got covered in red slime when they blew up and stuff. That's what makes those films iconic to this day, because it's not CGI, so it doesn't date. Yeah, the film looks old, but the effects still look good.
Yeah, I just talking about practical effects though. Do you remember? I don't know if it might have been a bit before your time, but do you remember Michael Jackson's Thriller? Yeah. So when he had the extensive, like he had the 15-minute music video or whatever, of him going to the movie theater, turning into the wolf, and there was a documentary that went out on like ITV or whatever about all of the makeup and all of the and basically showed you Michael Jackson with like all these tubes with air getting pumped into it to make things swell up and stuff. So when you saw it on the screen, it was the thing, like the fingernails growing were practical effects. There was no CGI in that. It was all practical effects, and obviously the work that goes into it and the amount of time and all the rest of it, but it makes it look good. And you can even watch that nowadays, and yes, it looks dated because obviously it came out in the late 80s, early 90s, and it looks dated because it's of its time, but at the same time it hasn't aged, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the same, because at Universal Studios they do the horror makeup effects show. That has been there since I were a kid. They still do it to this day because the effects are still good.
Yeah.
Like when they show you how they did the wolf transformation, very similar to that with the werewolf in London.
American Werewolf in London.
American Werewolf in London, yeah. They show you how they did that transformation, like the bit with the elongating feet, like you say, it was something actual physically extending on set, and half of that transformation was real. You know what I mean? It was real, all practical effects. And they show you in that show how they do it, and it's so clever.
Yeah,
so cool.
And there's something about that you know, in your head, you're either consciously or subconsciously kind of looking at stuff and going, this is real, this is not real. And I think practical effects do make things scarier, even if they look ridiculous. It makes it scarier because it's that physical thing in front of you. And I kind of hope we go kind of a 180 and we kind of go back to that now, and sort of horror films kind of try to be pay more homage to those older films. If the new Alien film's doing it, that's really cool.
Yeah, well, the I keep wanting to call her Annabelle, but she's not called Annabelle. Abigail very much was in that vein. So like in that film, there wasn't a massive amount of CGI in that movie. They were all practical effects, and you could tell they were. Yeah. They were all on set things happening. Yeah, which was quite cool.
Yeah,
especially down to like the prosthetics were very similar to like Lost Boys, with the big brow and the fangs and the facial like way the face sort of like kind of like menaced up to make the vampire was very much in the style of like Buffy and Lost Boys. And when they did that physical transformation, it looked like that.
Yeah,
with the contact lenses and stuff.
American Werewolf in London still has one of the best transformation scenes in any werewolf movie. It's because it's real. It's because it's happening in front of you.
Speaking of Jackson's Thriller, I love the documentary on that. Was it Michael Landon? Is he called the director? He's done a bunch of stuff, hasn't he? Where he basically said that Michael Jackson, they gave him a bunch of films to watch, like Day of the Dead, and they gave him a bunch of films to watch to kind of get the idea of what he's going to be shooting. And American Werewolf in London was one of the films they gave him for the werewolf bit, and he was too scared to watch any of them. He was like, every time they put one on, he would like screech and scream and be like, "No, turn it off." So like, they couldn't physically make him. They couldn't make him physically sit through any of these films, and they had to film this horror film with him. And like later on, he went to do that Ghosts one as well, which was very similar. And they tried to redo it again, didn't he? And again, he could like he's scared of horror. Apparently, he was terrified.
Wow. But that's an interesting comparison because that Ghosts one isn't anywhere near as iconic. But again,
No,
that
still
was
good though.
CGI. Yeah, but that one was all CGI.
That
Wasn't
was
it?
CGI. Yeah, it was
heavily CGI'd.
John Landis. Sorry, John Landis. Yeah.
There we go. Oh, he
Sorry,
directed
I turned into a physical meme then.
It's Vincent Price as well, isn't it? At the beginning, darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is closer than. I know all the words to it.
That's why I love the Haunted Mansion in Paris rather than the Haunted Mansion in Florida. In Florida, it's Thurl Ravencroft's voice, so it's the hinges creak and doorless chambers. Whereas you go to Paris, and it's Vincent Price, and you can tell the difference in Price's delivery of it.
Yeah.
It's just much creepier with Vincent Price's voice.
I think it's a much scarier ride. I think.
Oh yeah. They know that like the Americans are like had all the cartoony bits, whereas the European crowd were like, yeah, just give us horror, just give us straight up horror.
Scare us. Just do something scary.
I love watching the Americans that do the vlogs on like coming to Paris. That is one of my favorite things to watch because they go in expecting grim grinning ghosts come out to socialize, and they get greeted with the bride crying on the staircase and things like that. It's like, oh, this is a bit different.
Yeah, I remember doing that ride as a kid when we went. That's been one of the first times we went to Florida, not Florida. Went to Disneyland Paris. It was called. What was it called originally? Disneyland Paris, wasn't it?
Yeah, Disneyland Paris.
Have they changed the name now?
No, it's still Disneyland Paris. Disneyland Paris is the name of the overall thing, and then it's Disneyland Park with a C, and then the new studios. But they renamed that recently to something mental like Adventures by Disney.
Yeah, but I remember going, and I what was it? 99 it opened, I think it was. No, it might have been earlier than that. No, it didn't open in 99. When did it open? 92, 93? Euro Disney. There we go. Andy H with the win. It was called Euro Disney originally. That's what it was, not Disneyland Paris. When Euro Disney originally opened, and I remember going on that Haunted Mansion ride one of the first times I went, and just being terrified, like just being genuinely terrified because it was like so good. I can't remember if I went on it last time I went. No, I don't think I did.
Because there's even that bit where there's the grave digger and he's just laughing, he's just stood there and he's looking directly at you and going, it's like, okay.
I don't know if I did.
So good.
I can't remember. Maybe I did. Euro Disney. Oh,
yeah,
man.
Euro Disney was when it was owned by some Arab prince, wasn't it, originally? Like some prince in Middle East owned it at one point.
Was it really?
I believe it's now owned again by the American corporation. Basically owns it again now. Same people that run California.
Oh wow!
Although Disney World has literally just become a man-made mousetrap now. I do prefer Disneyland Paris to Disney World now. I've got to admit, on recent visits to Disneyland and Disney World, Disneyland has a lot more of the magic that Disney World has lost.
Yeah, it's like the younger sibling.
Disney World has gone very corporate. And they're just getting people through the gate, and there's some great rides there, but the heart's not in it anymore. Whereas you go to Paris, you still feel the love for the park a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Speaking about iconic horror, M. Night Shyamalan has got a new film coming out.
Yeah.
I only recently saw his last one, that old. Did you see that one about the beach?
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, it wasn't really a horror film. It's more of a psychological kind of, mess with your head a little bit. But the Signs, that iconic scene in the Signs where they're showing the alien on the news.
Yeah,
that is one of your like iconic horror scenes. That bit, do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, the bit with where they're talking about the aliens landing, and there's like the film of the child's birthday party, and then it just kind of But again, it's that kind of that found footage aspect of kind of not all high def and just something you see in the background. But he's done some really good things. Shelley said his best film will always be The Sixth Sense. Again, just a really scary film. But he has done some good horror films, and he has got a new film coming out called Trap, which isn't necessarily a horror film. Have you seen the trailer for that one?
I haven't got around to seeing it yet. I really need to though.
It's got what's his name? What's the actor's name? Josh. What is his name?
Josh Richardson?
No, I can't remember. Josh Hartnett. There we go. See, I was on it. Josh Hartnett. Basically, it's a big concert, and I'm only telling you what's in the trailer, so I'm not giving any spoilers away. But it's a big concert. A dad and a daughter are attending a concert, and they're kind of talking about how exclusive the seats are and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, "Oh, Dad, you're amazing," yada yada yada, and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna pop to the loo. Like, are you okay here?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course," and singing along and that kind of thing. It's like kind of almost like the Taylor Swift kind of, aspect to this really popular singer. And he goes to the loo, and he notices that there's police on all of the doors and everything. And then he talks to this guy at the merchandise stand. He was like, "What's with all the police?" And the guy goes, "Oh, like, don't tell anyone that I told you, but have you heard about the whatever killer? Like, supposedly this whole concert is set up as a trap for him." And then he kind of tweaks a little bit, and then it flashes to him checking his phone. He's got someone tied up in the basement in his house and this kind of stuff. And he kind of grins, and then it implies that he's the killer that they're kind of setting up to trap. But I don't know what to like. It's one in ones where I'm like, well, where does this go? Because if the film's called Trap, and we've already been told now that the concert is a trap to kill to trap this killer, and we've been told that he's the killer, like, where's the surprise? Where's the twist? Because obviously all of his films have got big twists in them. Where's the twist going to be? So I'm quite excited for that. Quite excited.
Thing is, I'm sorry, I'm snorting. Every time I think, like, when he mentioned the twist, all I can hear in my head is IT Crowd, Matt Berry's character, where he's just trying to guess the twist.
Yeah,
going, she's really a man. It's really yesterday. He's really too. I can just hear his voice in my head when he said that then about the twist. That's all I could hear in my head. Is him going, "I think she's a man."
That's funny. That is funny.
But,
there you go. Andy H said it's actually his daughter is the singer because apparently she's a singer in real life. There you go.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah. Which another callback he did. Lady in the Pond or something like that.
Lady in the Water or something. That was Lady a weird movie.
But supposedly that was a story he had made up for his daughter that he just turned into a film.
That's terrifying. Why would you make that up for your kid?
Can you imagine him as a dad? Dad, tell me a bedtime story. Okay. Get comfortable. But no, I'm a big fan. I really like his stuff, and some of his stuff is definitely, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. Do you know what I mean? Like even things like The Village, like which wasn't
Village is great
good.
movie.
I didn't think it was particularly good, and at the time I was expecting more. But then when I've gone back and rewatched it, I'm like, actually, this is very clever. But it was scary. Like there was an element of fear, and then you realise that it's not. The fear is kind of misplaced, you know. So I'm a big fan of his. I really am.
I always think The Others is one of his movies, but it's not, is it? The Others is a different thing altogether. But I always think that's one of his films because it's very similar to his sort of style.
Yeah, no, that is
it's a different one.
It is that kind of twist, isn't it? John said his movies often have great soundtracks as well.
Yeah, they do.
Bethany Beth said The Haunting scared me. Which one's The Haunting? I'm trying to think.
Is The Haunting the one with Kate Beckinsale? And is it
Liam
Neeson? Is it Liam Neeson?
Yeah, if so, that's definitely a good scary film.
The Haunting. Yeah. Is this what I'm thinking of? Yeah. The one with Kate. It's Catherine Zeta-Jones. Sorry, Catherine Zeta-Jones is in that one, and Liam
Yeah.
Neeson, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Owen Wilson, and Lil Taylor.
Isn't that based loosely on The Haunting of Hill House?
Yes, basically,
Yeah.
very loosely.
Yeah. It's like they took the concept of The Haunting of Hill House and kind of twisted it round and made it their own. Yeah, no, that is quite a good film. That really is quite a good film.
Wow.
But it's those ghost stories. Ghost stories, the ones that definitely get me more.
Look, there's a ghost. Wow.
Wow, it's a haunting.
Before we go though, there's one thing that we have to talk about because we kind of touched on it a little while ago, and you were mentioning kind of like where is the next generation of horror going to come from? And I think we already have it. We just don't want to accept it. But as the older people, but I think from watching what my daughter watches and what's popular, things like your Five Nights at Freddy's and your Poppy's Playtime, they've kind of become the next thing of horror. There's a lot of things there's a lot of stuff out there that I didn't realize how much of it was horror. So like the Doors, the Doors is from Roblox, and that's a freaking horror game. And I was like, why is my daughter playing this? Like, this is terrifying. She's 8 years old, and like I always played Five Nights anyway. But I recently got into Poppy's Playtime properly. I like played the actual game, and that is friggin' terrifying. Yeah. And I'm like, these are aimed at kids, but they are genuinely scary horror things.
Yeah, I think that is actually quite a dangerous road as well, because you've got things like Huggy Wuggy, you've got things like Rainbow Friends, you've got things like Five Nights at Freddy's, and there is so much content out there that's quite innocent. So you go on YouTube, take Huggy Wuggy and Rainbow Friends, for example. So much content that's out there that's really innocent, that's just people creating Minecraft maps and all this kind of stuff that children will watch. But then obviously the algorithms will then take you eventually to the original videos, or the kind of the original kind of setting for those characters, and then all of a sudden you've got kids that are scared to go to bed. Do you know what I mean? Like, but you know what? I think you might have hit the nail on the head. I think your Huggy Wuggies, your Rainbow Friends, your Five Nights at Freddy's, I think they're this generation's kind of horror icons.
If you look at the progression of where we've come from, like that Five Nights at Freddy's was responsible for the resurgence of blind bags, and this whole thing of like all these little things like Poppy's Playtime copied they basically copied the footprint that Five Nights started. Huggy Wuggy was released as the next Freddy, and then all of a sudden he had plushes, he had toys, they had blind bags. And like you say, that if you remember when Huggy Wuggy first came out, there was a massive thing that went out to parents from schools and stuff saying, don't let your kids play this game. It's terrifying. And like there were kids that were scared to go to bed because of that, because obviously it goes from being the cute cuddly blue thing to having teeth and when he transforms into the evil Huggy.
Yeah, I've dated a few girls like that before. They're all just nice and friendly, and then
But as a guy that collects like the weird and wonderful horror stuff, like I've noticed like even the more innocent stuff. So like your Teddy Bears now, Creepy Cats is the next follow on from that. Blocks Fruits, like that one. I mean, they're all little ghosts of fruits, but they're ghosts and pumpkins and like evil little bats and things. It's all essence of horror. They've all come from that sort of horror. Like, even though some of them aren't scary, they've come from a place of horror, haven't they?
You know what? I think you have hit the nail on the head there, because the other thing as well, think back to when we were kids, and we've said this so many times on the show, that there were toy lines for things that were massively inappropriate for us. Okay, your Terminators, your Aliens, your Predators, those kind of things, but you had an action figure, you had a toy line, or you had merchandise in your hand. Even Freddy Krueger, even, Halloween and things like that, you had merchandise that was aimed at the children, and the children's involvement is what created that kind of jumping off point for a lot of them. And I think Five Nights, for example, Poppy's Playtime, like you say, the actual kind of origin stories and the origin content really is inappropriate for the age of Poppy's Playtime. For example, you say about the plushies, it blows my mind how many kids a couple of years ago, you would see walking around with that plushie or in their buggy holding on to that plushie. And you're kind of like, you're looking at it going, why has your 2-year-old got that as their toy? What
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Have you seen what that comes from? But yet it's on the shelf of Smiths, like, so, oh, well, this is a cool guy. They know who he is and that kind of stuff. So I think you're right. I think they might be the next. They're the ones that are going to last.
Like Five Nights. Look at this. Look at the story of Five Nights. Look at the story behind it. It is a child murderer that got trapped inside one of the suits and died because the spring locks activated and killed him. And it is the ghosts of the children that are inside the animatronics killing other children and people.
Oh, I know. And I didn't realize
that is terrifying.
Film. I did not realize that was what they were.
That is the backstory.
Until I watched the film, and I was like, "This is messed up. Like, is this what they've created for the film? Or is this genuine?" And I had to kind of do a bit of a Google. But yeah, I mean, that is messed up.
In the original story, it was even more messed up. The film didn't touch on this because they didn't want to. But originally, the villain character would kill these kids. And he would stuff their dead bodies inside of the animatronic. That's why their ghost was in there, because their body was trapped inside of it.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So it is a messed up franchise. And like you say, kids are walking around with Five Nights t-shirts on at like 5 and 6 years old. You're like, you should not know what that is.
No, it's the consumerism as well. The Harlequin consumerism is what I kind of class it as, and it's that thing that this sells.
Yep.
And people buy it because my kid loves this, but they don't understand the real depth. You're seeing it now with Barbie, like the Barbie film. Barbie as a toy is slightly different because obviously the toy predates the movie.
First, yeah.
But the movie is not for children. The movie is not a children's film. But yet you have all of these girls and boys singing the songs and talking about the characters. And it's a difficult one because you're like, oh, my kid likes Barbie. But they like Barbie because of the adult film. And yeah, I mean, like I said, seeing 2-year-olds holding on to Huggy Wuggies and that just doesn't make sense. Does not make sense. Unless the parents are fans of it and therefore they've bought their kid a plush of it or whatever, because it's like, well, it's just a cuddly toy. It doesn't make sense for these kids to understand that. But then that's what you've got with YouTube and that, isn't it?
Yep. Oh yeah.
No, I think you've hit the. I think you've hit the hit a nail on the head. Yeah, Roblox is a massive one.
Roblox has got a new game on it. I'm not sure how new it is, but it's called Doors. And I mean, I played that on my video when I did this because I kind of said I can't talk about the toys without playing the game. I feel like a hypocrite. So I thought I'll play the game because it's going to be horror related. So I thought I'll play it anyway. Did not realize how horribly dark that is. You are basically, it was so intense. You were walking through like a hotel and it's just doors. And you have to go into each door and try and find a key to get to the next set of doors, right? Yeah. But there could be a jump scare behind any one of those doors, and there's different ways of stopping the thing from getting you by doing certain things. Like one of them you have to look at, one of them you have to look away from, and it's remembering the different ghosts and what you've got to do to get rid of it, right? Yeah. But all that tension builds up to when you open that door and there's that jump scare initially. It's like, that is terrifying.
Yeah.
And there was a game a little while ago. Again, it was very popular called Emily Wants to Play. Did you ever play that? All the kids played that one. That was the same sort of thing. You were playing a pizza delivery boy that had turned up at this house to deliver a pizza. And Emily was like the story plays out that she was a disabled kid that ended up being locked in the basement because the parents couldn't look after her, and she'd sort of had all these pills that turned her into like a weird monstery demon-y thing. But that was the same sort of thing, and it was that she was moving these things around the house. Like there'd be suddenly a clown in the corridor, and you had to stare at the clown to make it go away, and all this kind of crap. It's like that again was aimed at kids. It was horribly scary.
Yeah. Shelley said in the comments as well, the game Piggy, which was obviously
Piggy.
But that's that is the power of the internet and that. And I suppose that is where the horror comes from, because it's those scary movies, scary videos, those scary games, like word spreads. Do you remember Momo? Do you remember that whole phase that went
Freaking
through?
hell, yeah.
And that was literally the picture of Momo was literally, it was someone's like art project from somewhere, and they had found this picture on Google and then spread this kind of urban
legend. Yeah,
legend.
well, it's like Slender Man.
Yeah,
Slenderman's just an urban legend. It was a competition on Reddit to who could make the best ghost story, and some dude managed to make a internet sensation out of it.
Yeah, but those kind of like the fear of doing something that you shouldn't really be doing, and
That's the
games
thing.
like this Diggy one, that's what hooks them in, and it becomes the sell. And I suppose like Huggy Wuggy is a prize example, because I don't think a lot of people who bought the toys and bought the merchandise and that knew the backstory of the character. They just saw it as oh, my kid likes this, and all their friends know who it is, and like, yeah, I'll get him that, or get her that.
Yeah, the smiling critters are the new ones now. They're going to be the next big thing.
Cartoon. I watched that cartoon you sent me the link to. But yeah,
that again, they created that little cartoon first, then they released the chapter 3 of Poppy's Playtime, which focused on these critters, and now they're releasing the plushies and the big evil version of the cat, and yeah, they've got all sorts going on for that now. The merchandising on it is going to be insane, because like I've got knockoffs from China. And
really?
They went practically viral when I put them on my channel. I've got the little vinyl figures here.
Yeah.
And these are knockoffs from China, but people are loving them because you can't physically get any merchandise yet. I think the plushes came out like a week ago, but I've had these a few weeks now.
These are just like a spin-off of Five Nights, aren't they?
No, so this is the next chapter of Poppy's Playtime. So Poppy's Playtime is about a factory that creates toys, but things went wrong, and there's like a darker undertone. So like they were experimenting on kids and shit like that. There's a very dark undertone to it. But like you've got Dog Day, who's one of the main characters in the game. He's cut off at the middle and he's hanging by his hands on a wall because all the other critters have tore him apart. And then Catnap is the main kind of villain of the thing, and he can
yay, Catnap.
Yeah, so the idea was that his plushie was released because all of them were scented, so the kids would smell them, and his was meant to be lavender to put the kids to sleep. But in actual fact, what they did was put this red mist inside of it. So when the kids squeezed it and breathed it in, it would put them into a coma. So the toy was recalled, and because it was causing all these kids to drop into comas, and the toy company knew what they were doing, and it was a thing to try and it was like an experiment. Wow. So yeah, that is the messed up backstory of the critters, and they're like the new Five Nights at Freddy's now. They are the new thing that kids want to get plushes of.
The scariest thing about them, and I know you'll be able to relate as well because you've got kids, but the attraction for children, like my 5-year-old is attracted to all of this stuff.
Yep.
Because they talk about it in the playground, they have access to it. They literally, you type it in on YouTube and you've got a million videos that you could watch if you're not like supervised or whatever. And it all looks very friendly, because for a parent, those, for example, the smiling critters, you look at them, they look no different to characters that you would see on Disney Plus or Netflix, whatever, in the children's kind of section. So parents would let their kids watch this. That's genius, really, when you think about it from a horror perspective. Parents let their kids watch this, which will inevitably scar them or freak them out or whatever. It's so much better than the way it's marketed is so much better than any horror film.
And if you look at what, like them critters, for example, you know what they're stylized on, don't you? The colors. Have you noticed the theme? There's something. Yeah, there's something in the back of your mind that you look at them and you go, they're nostalgic, and I don't know why. It's because they are basically recolorizations of the Care Bears.
The first thing I thought when you showed them to me, and I was like, they're Care Bears. They're basically like evil Care Bears.
Basically, that's the thing. As someone, because the game is aimed at us, it's not aimed at kids. It's aimed at people our age, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. They're trying to make things that look like they belonged in the 90s. That's why the cartoon's made to look the way it is. It's made to look dated. So like Huggy Wuggy was like, if you think back to your childhood, there was things that looked like that as a kid. I can't remember the name of it, but it features in Jingle All the Way. It's like a weird Y-shaped green thing. It's like a big cartoon in America. We never had it over here. That was basically what they stylized Huggy Wuggy on.
What's he called? I know exactly who you're talking
The
about.
Poppy doll. The Poppy doll is meant to be Raggedy Ann. They're all based on things that have a deep connection in your mind.
Yeah,
and the fact that the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, the fact that they got Henson to make them, that for me that just makes it even more creepier. They've got the Henson Company to make those damn animatronics real.
Yeah.
So now kids have got the real life animatronics like real now because of the movie.
Yeah,
it's not just a CGI 3D character anymore.
It's genius marketing, really, when you think about it. That you kind of you jump through that firewall of parents, because parents are very, nowadays probably more so than they were back in the day. They're a lot more kind of conscious about what their kids are seeing and being exposed to and stuff. But you basically hide a really dark horror behind the face of a cartoon, a cutesy kind of cartoon. Because nothing about those smiling critters screams horror, like on the surface.
And this is the thing, like when we were kids, we had cartoons, so it was He-Man, and then you had the toy line, Turtles, then you had the toy line. You know what I mean? Like Power Rangers was just a big advert for Bandai. You know what I mean? Like everything had a cartoon or a television series that went along with the toy line. That is basically what they've done with all these franchises. They're not stupid. They've basically made a game and then made the characters in it, like you say, very accessible to any age. And then they realize they can sell the toy rights, make a load of money, because then kids will either play the game, buy the toys, or see the toys, play the game. It's a nice little circle that just goes round and round.
Yeah,
and makes them very rich.
But it's like you say about knockoffs and that, though, that even to the extent where, things like Rainbow Friends, we've started to now see the merchandise, the blind bag, the action figures, that kind of stuff. But 6 months ago, when it was really popular, 8 months ago, when it was really popular, there wasn't that merchandise out there. But you could go on somewhere like AliExpress and get the knockoff figures straight away, delivered within a week, because, companies out in China, whatever, making these kind of very soft, cheap kind of plastic figures of these characters. There's nothing really copyrighted in the way they look.
So Bendy, when Bendy came out, if you remember that, they made action figures for it. However, Cuphead never really got any official merch, but it was a really popular little game. Amazon, 15 quid. I got an entire bag full from China. 15 quid and I've got every figure. Like the dark evil little demon and like the female version of Cuphead and
so you can go on these sites, you can get the merchandise, the kids can have the figures in front of them. They then start playing their own games, building their own kind of setups, and then that character, that franchise is a part of their childhood. It's a part of their kind of existence in that respect.
And they're all on Amazon. They were on Amazon, so I was really surprised at how easy it was. Like like you're saying, like AliExpress and stuff. You can get it on Amazon. It's not even hidden away. It took me 10 seconds to find all the cheap knockoffs from China. I got the plushes on Amazon. You just need to know the keyword that they're using, and that's it. You've got all the knockoff stuff from China on there.
Wow. Wow. And then sites like Temu and that coming out now, you can get the stuff for like even cheaper.
Yep.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head, mate. I think the next set of iconic characters that are going to kind of outlive the decade or whatever are going to be the Roblox, Minecraft.
Look at the resurgence of things like Monster High. They're getting the girls hooked on it as well. And it's not just the boys stuff. Monster High, they're all based on Universal Monsters. Admittedly, it's not horror, it's not scary, but it's still from the background of horror. There's still the element there in the background. It's still based on Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, the Mummy. You know what I mean? And the kids are learning about that through a 3D cartoon about girl power.
Yeah, that's mad. That is mad.
But they're still learning that, because they've just made the live action movies for Monster High, and they've got like Draculas in it. So like kids are learning that, oh, Draculaura, that's the daughter of Dracula. Who's Dracula? Let's go Google. We've got Google on his phones and computers.
Yeah.
It's a gateway to horror. They're all gateway horrors, if you will.
We
had them growing up. We had Are You Afraid of the Dark? We had Goosebumps, but not to this extent. We didn't have the merchandising that these have got.
And I think the difference is that there's no regulation because it's online and it's part of a game. Like you could go out, you could create a mod for Roblox or whatever tomorrow and release it and hide something in there that is messed up or freaked. And as long as it doesn't alert any of the firewall kind of things that are in place, it will get through and scare.
I have to say it. Look at Among Us. As daft as it is, look at Among Us. What are kids? If you look at what kids are playing, what are the kids doing on Among Us? They're playing a serial killer on a ship.
Yeah,
they are the imposter among them. That is literally the whole point of the game. You are trying to spot the killer.
Yeah,
in your own little horror movie.
Yeah. Yeah, but hidden behind
cutesy little characters that run around. They make little noises, dip 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 as they run.
My eldest son had so many of those blind bags because he wanted to collect them all up and stuff like that. But the whole game is to kill off your friends,
murder each other, kill off all your friends,
and be creative about it. Do it in a way that people aren't going to guess that it's you. It's like, wow,
teaching them how to do it without getting caught.
This is messed up. I think that the lack of regulation is what really plays a part in that, because things won't make it onto. You look at things like Disney Plus and Netflix and all those kind of streaming sites. Like you have parental controls, you have parental profiles, children profiles, and even to the extent we're on Disney Plus. And I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but on Disney Plus, Moana doesn't show up on a children's profile. You can only watch it through an adult's profile. It's one of our favorite films. Put it on all the time, but my youngest son goes on his profile and we can't get it up on his profile. We have to go back on and log on to one of ours because Moana for some reason doesn't fit the hole. Yeah, it flags up. Whereas these internet things do not have those flags. They don't have those hoops that they have to jump through. They kind of go, you know what, I'm going to create this character, and this is things like the smiling critters, what you're saying there about the dog being cut in half and hung up. That's something that wouldn't get through on like the like watershed, whatever the wording is or whatever, but it wouldn't get through on things like Disney Plus and Netflix and that. But on the internet, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, and 9 times out of 10, kids are using their parents' or mum's phone, and they've got free reign of YouTube because there's no lock on it, and it's all visible. And even on YouTube Kids, this is what I found funny the other day. YouTube Kids, SuperSorrell comes up. I come up on YouTube Kids, right? And kids can even. This is the mad part. Kids can even watch me unbox Freddy Krueger. Like those videos still appear on YouTube Kids.
Wow.
So, like, I understand that my Disney stuff's going to show up. Yeah, there's no wrong with that. But then I'm like...
It's your friendly smile, mate. That's what it is. They're like, yeah...
That's the thing, though, isn't it? It's like, but I'm unboxing a... Yeah, you think of the story of Freddy and what he is.
Yeah.
That's on YouTube Kids, and you're like, oh, my God. Like, there is literally no regulation anymore, like you say.
That is messed up.
I feel like this has become more of a PSA than a...
Yeah, so...
This feels more like a PSA than a horror chat.
Check what your kids are looking at on the internet, people. You never know. No, but bringing it back to horror, I think you are right. I think that Five Nights, Huggy Wuggy, all that kind of stuff, that's your horror for this generation. They're the characters that this generation are going to remember in 10 years' time, rather than anything that we're currently seeing in a movie. That's my thing. And before we do disappear, I'm going to pull this one up. Rachel said, SuperSorrell, you're mine and my husband's favorite toy hunter. Greetings from San Diego. You are awesome.
Thank you very much.
Rachel, that's lovely. There are 2 of us on the screen. But I'm only joking. That's really, really nice. Going back to some other comments as well. Ice Mint said, finally I can watch you. I've got lots of work done to watch this. Well, we do appreciate it. Thank you very much for tuning in. He also said that he used to be scared of Mojo. I think you're talking Momo. So much that I couldn't sleep for 3 hours. It's a specific amount of time, but I agree. There we go. Andy H has said, my mate was petrified of Momo. He's 6'7" and built like a barn door. I may have broken him a few times with those pictures, mainly because I'm a lovely person. But that's the thing. Like Momo, Momo was that. If you actually look into it, the actual image of Momo was some art project that it was really a really innocent art project of like human dog or something like that. And somebody found that picture on the internet and went, yeah, I'm gonna make something messed up of this. Yeah, there we go. Rachel Fox, sorry, your friend's awesome too. Thanks. Thank you very much. Shelley said, my kids weren't bothered by that at all. No. But I think the thing that was scary about Momo was the idea of what was there. It was that whole, and this again is what horror as a genre I think is missing. They're so good at giving us everything. This is what it is. This is what the character looks like. This is where the story goes. Whereas things like this was all about that suspense. It was all about that build up, like you were saying, Sorrel. It was about, you don't want to look at this picture because of X, Y, and Z. So people were scared of the. I don't think it was actually the image of what they look like. I think it was more the anticipation of not wanting to look at it. John Hood said, has anyone mentioned The Shining? We didn't actually talk about The Shining. Very good horror film. Very, very good horror film. There we go. There we go.
Do you know what? I often think if they revisit The Shining as a Netflix, like a Netflix series, 10-part kind of thing, they could really span that out and have some great stories in it.
Yeah, that would be a good one. Actually, that would be a good one. All right. Anything else you want to add?
No, I've kind of gone through everything I wanted to chat about. But yeah, I'm glad we definitely touched on the whole Five Nights at Freddy's thing, because like I think it's so in the toy world and in the horror world, I think it's so overlooked. I really do. But there's a definite, like I say, there's a definite thing of that for the toy industry as well. It revamped this whole blind bag craze, because every toy company, if you look at that, how many come out each week, like the Pet Simulator, and then recently, is it called Adopt Me or something? They've suddenly popped up.
Yeah.
And like all the Roblox stuff, the Thingy Friends, Doors. I'm looking at them now because I've got them all in a box at the side of me. All the stuff has just popped up one after another, after another, after another. So yeah, it's definitely not going away anytime soon.
No. Thanks everyone for joining in, jumping on with a chat. If we didn't get to your comments, do apologize. We have tried our best to kind of stick with it. Thanks for joining in with our kind of horror chat. I quite like this. I quite like sort of taking a theme and running with it. Horror was a good one to kind of kick off on this week. So let's see what that trailer brings tomorrow. And if it is a decent trailer, maybe we'll jump on for half hour and just kind of break it down. Yeah. Go on.
Do you know what for next week's show? Do you know what I think we should talk about?
What?
The 90s.
Oh,
let's do a 90s episode. Let's talk, Dexter's Laboratory and Saved by the Bell and Keenan and Kel and and let's go back to his 90s childhood TV stuff.
Yeah, let's go back to the 90s. Next week, episode 149. We're going back to the 90s.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks very much, everyone, for tuning in. Sorrel, if anyone's watching on Catch Up, what do they need to put in?
Hashtag Catch Up Crew.
Hashtag Catch Up Crew. Loads of people already saying. Rachel say 1990s, yes. Shelley say 90s chat, yes. Theme for another show, Kay's cooking. But yes, we will talk 90s. Let's do 90s next week. Talk about everything 90s. Thanks very much for watching. If you are watching on Catch Up, like Sorrel said, hit that hashtag Catch Up Crew and let us know. Of course, we'll be back next week with 149. And then the week after that is episode 150, which feels like a big one. But yeah, 150. So yeah, we'll be back next week. Thank you very much for staying on board. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Check out the video description for all the links to various different social medias and all that kind of stuff. Until next week, Keep it geek.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and of course subscribe. Tune in next week for another live show. Until then, keep it geek. Stay up to date at www.geekweekinreview.co.uk.